So now let's actually start building some of the data classes. So I'm going to have an instructor class. So we'll call this instructor. And I'm using upper camel case because this is a class name. And then a subclass of instructor called part-time instructor. And a subclass called full-time instructor. Okay, and then let's get started with the instructor. So that's going to be a class. And then what do I know about an instructor? I know first name and last name and middle initial and then I also know the G number, which for instructor privacy I'm not going to disclose in this video, so I'll use dummy values for that. And that's enough for now. So we may come back to that. And then for the constructor for a new instructor, I'm going to want to specify all those values. So we'll define a constructor. And then I'm going to include all of these things here. So we have first name, last name, middle initial, and G number. And then self dot first name. And actually what I should do here is these really want to be private. So you make something private when you don't want programmers who are using this library to fiddle with the contents. And the reason you don't want them to fiddle with the contents directly is because if they start using something, then and you change the way it works, you break their code. So what you want to do sort of is draw a line between the things that you want to release that other programmers who are using this as a library are free to use and to rely on, and then things that just have to do with how you've implemented that interface that you still want to change or have the ability to change later on. And in particular, when I create a new instructor, I'm going to want to make sure that information gets written to a database. And I want to have a way of fetching information from a database as well. And so just having these be simple properties is fine for right now, but maybe not where I want to end up. So this part of the implementation, I want to make it private so that other programmers who are using this as a library don't rely on it. And the way I make this private is I just put 2 underscores in front of that. And that does something called name mangling, which we talk about in 133Y. And I'll make sure there's some readings available about it. But basically, it makes it a little bit harder to refer to these values directly. You can still do it, but it's a little strange to do it. So it's more of an advisory than anything else. So anyway, so instead of setting first name, I'm going to set self.under first name to first name. And then self.under last name is last name. And self.under middle initial is middle initial. And self.under G number is G number. So that's going to make new objects and return them. And I haven't provided a way of accessing any of this information yet. So let's go ahead and play with this just a tiny bit and see how it works. So I'm going to go to my course instructors UI, and in my run method, I'm going to say mark is equal to instructor. And then for this to work, I have to actually import the class. So to import a class called instructor from a file named instructor.py, you say from instructor import this class instructor. So that's what the import line is going to look like. From instructor import instructor. And then I'm going to call the constructor for a new instructor object, and then I have to pass in the first name, last name, middle initial, and G number. So first name, last name, middle initial, and G number. So that should have the right number of digits. And then let's go ahead and print that, which is about all I can really do at this point. And then let me add another instructor. So let's do Greg is an instructor. Greg Jackson. What's Greg's middle initial? Let's look that up. I think he was in summer schedule. Yeah, I don't have his initial there though. I might have it over here. These details are actually not important, but I like to get them right anyhow, because I'm just a little crazy about stuff like that. Okay. A. So Greg's middle initial is A. And then I don't know his G number, but I'll use G0000002 for his G number. And then I'll print Greg. Okay, so let's run it now. And what I get for Mark is an instructor.instructor object at, and this is a memory location. So there's actually physically out in memory at this address, there's a block of data that represents this object. And then the same thing here for this Greg object, which is at a different memory location. Now, this may not be particularly useful, so what I might want to do instead is come up with a custom string method that when you convert an object of type instructor into a string, it displays specific information about that object. And you can do that in Python using something called operator overloading. So overloading means I'm going to take an operation like the toString method, and I'm going to have different code, a different implementation for how to do that, depending on what type of thing I'm running it on. So for instructor, it's going to do something different than it does for number or for string or for any other kind of object. So the default toString method for any object, it looks like this. It says the package and name of the class, object at, and then the memory location, and it puts that whole thing in angle brackets. So what I want to do instead is for my instructor class, I'm going to overload that using double underscore stir double underscore. And then if I return any string, that's going to be what this thing prints. So let's go ahead and use a formatted string, and I'm going to start with, let's do the last name, comma, and then first name, space, and then middle initial. And then I'm just going to do instructor colon that. And then I have a little warning here, no new line at end of file, so we may add a new line. And then this should be self dot last name, first name, middle initial. So let's run my course instructors UI again. So it should be underscore underscore. And now let's try it. Good. So now I have the same two instructors before, but they get displayed in a way that's more human readable.